What's different is that we now talk to the big sites. This is why we call them wirehouses. This means UBS, Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley. The Bitcoin ETFs are now live and have received billions of dollars in investments in less than 5 months. They are doing a lot of research like, okay, what is this now? We need to have an opinion. A lot of people on Wall Street haven't bought them yet because the biggest indexes and sites haven't added them yet. For real, they have a score that will be used to judge them. That's an ETF, right? From now on, Bitcoin will be used to grade them. Even though the price of Bitcoin has been stable for months, get ready for what's coming next. However, none of the spot Bitcoin ETFs have been added to a big platform yet. We believe that will change soon. Their questions tell us what they want to know. You can subscribe to Altcoin Daily and get one movie a day that will keep you up to date on crypto. And Consensus's Cathie Wood says the heat is on. This is a new type of product, so the heat is on. The Bitcoin is a new type of currency. To be clear, it's a money system, but it's also a new type of asset. In our world, this means that a fiduciary, someone who manages people's portfolios, needs to think about a new asset class, because its yields and risks are not closely linked to those of other assets. That means that over time, gains per unit of risk will go up if you add Bitcoin to a portfolio that already has some other assets in it. Is that right? One platform must have Bitcoin in order to offer the chance for diversification and better risk-adjusted returns, while the other must not. If this one is right, then they will have a problem. For these businesses to buy Bitcoin, Cathie Wood says that the game theory is on. That's also the real reason why Ethereum ETFs were accepted. The Ethereum ETF, on the other hand, didn't seem to have as much trouble getting accepted as the Bitcoin ETF did. What do you think about that? She was one of the ones who filed. She was there. What I read was that it wasn't going to be okay. It was not going to be allowed at all. What did happen? If it had been passed the normal way, we would have been getting questions, and not just from the SEC. No one was getting questions from the SEC before. We can say that was a sign. Nope, we'll have to give it another shot. In just 1 week, there was a growing sense in the House about the FIT 21 Act that, wait a minute, this is picking up steam on both sides of the floor. I really believe this was one of the things that happened. Also, this really could be a problem in this election year. This is an election year. At that point, I think the government said something like, oh, and another thing that happened is that former President Trump has become much more comfortable with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in general. And that same week, he said he would take cryptocurrency as campaign funds. Again, this idea is important during election years. Then, I don't know what he said when he saw this come across. I was on the phone with our CEO at the time. It was only 3 days away from being turned down. We had no doubt that it would be turned down. And I believe it was this election year. You have the legislative branch, you have Trump, who was president before. You had quickfire, and now we're here. As the cryptocurrency market changes and I look for good altcoins that are making progress, let's remember that the DTCC, or Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, which is known as the best settlement system in the world, has finished a test project on Chainlink. You touched on this, but this month the DTCC put out a study that talked about some of the. Besides the benefits you already stated, there are also built-in access to historical data and the ability to share data more automatically and in real time. What else in the study stood out to you? What makes this different from the way the banking system works now? This means that big banks in the US are using Chainlink, which is like Trade-a-Fit but for crypto. In the way things are now, all of that information has to be emailed to a lot of different groups, and you can't get the statistics for days, weeks, or months. In this case, the data can be automatically generated by calculating it almost in real time. This means that it can be made available every minute instead of once a week or once a month, which is pretty important when you think about it as valuation data that tells you how much something you're buying or selling is worth. The second important thing is that all of this data and assets can be moved between lines. We work on CCIP, or Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, which lets data move between different chains. This adds another level to the picture. It's also important to be able to move this data between chains because all the banks and asset managers are starting their own chains and will want to use tokens and data from those chains. But all of those different chain environments need to be able to connect consistently. That's another big thing we work on. In other news, PayPal stablecoin is now live on Solana. Because PayPal announced today at Consensus that its stablecoin, PYUSD, is now on the Solana blockchain, this is true. The development comes about 10 months after the first launch on Ethereum. PayPal says that the Solana blockchain is known for processing a huge number of transactions quickly and cheaply, which gives significant benefits for the commerce use cases. It's also interesting that they picked Solana instead of an ETH Layer 2. Gemini users will be made whole, which is great news for buyers. Today, the company said it would return almost $2.2 billion to users of its now defunct crypto lending program. That's after the Earn program stopped giving them money. In November 2022, withdrawals were put on hold. The Earn program stopped letting people take money out in November 2022, and customers haven't been able to get it back since. Genesis was Gemini's lending partner in all of this. In an email to customers today, the company owned by twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss said that users can now access about 97% of the digital assets that Genesis owed them as of the date of the halt. Following Gemini's previous announcement that it had made a settlement with Genesis and other creditors in the Genesis bankruptcy, all Earn users will receive 100% of their digital assets back in kind. That means that people who use the Earn program and lend 1 Bitcoin will also get 1 Bitcoin back, along with any rises in the value of assets that they lent into the program. Come with us to Bitcoin Nashville from July 25th to 27th as well. Get 10% off your ticket with the code ALTCOINDAILY. The meeting is going to be amazing. Hang out here. Click on the link below. I'll see you there.